So I'm, as you know, part of a legal team who are representing the majority of the survivors of abuse at the hands of Mohamed Al Fayed. I struggle to put into words what this experience has been like for me. Does that sound a bit cheesy, or plans are afoot? So let's just say watch this space.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the latest episode of But Is It Legal, the podcast from me, Simon Marshall, and TBD Marketing, which is the agency we work for lawyers. Quite simple, really. Today, I'm joined by the brilliant Maria Mulla, who I've had the pleasure of getting to know a bit over the last few months. Maria is a 2005 called barrister at Maitland, who specialises in company disputes, commercial litigation, and other kind of interesting pieces of work. We're going to cover that today. So, Maria, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about your career history? How did you become a barrister?
First of all, thank you for having me on here today. It's a
Right.
privilege to be on here. I've been watching it regularly, and so I was really delighted when you asked me to come on. So thank you for that. And thank you for the kind introduction. So, yes, I'm a barrister at Maitland Chambers, nearly 20 years now in that job. And I think, how did I become a barrister? For me, it was the opportunity to speak up for people, to help people, to represent people. That was initially why I wanted to become a barrister. And yeah, and that's something I've always, it's a privilege to be able to put a person's case forward.
Have you enjoyed it? Is it a career that you'd advocate for others to kind of pursue?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it, and I am enjoying it. Being self-employed is never easy. It has its challenges, but again, it's the kind of career that you can make of it whatever you want to make of it. You can work as hard as you want. You can do the work that you want to do. You can meet the contacts that you want to work with. It's what you make of it, really. And that's how I've always approached it, in that, I never feel restrained by boundaries of what I can achieve or what I can do. I just think everybody, you can just make of it what you want.
I love that. I think there's that purity of kind of motivation to get involved in law that I think you hear a lot of time across solicitors and barristers as well. But I always feel like barristers remain a bit closer to it. Like, yeah, I got into it to kind of, a purpose-driven kind of side of things, and I really want to do that. Do you think that's fair? That you still get to, fight the good fight and represent people that you want to
Yeah,
have their
you
voices
do.
heard?
You do get to fight the good fight, and it's easy to forget why we all do the job that we do. Sometimes
Mm.
we're so stressed and so, working hard, you kind of get on the treadmill and you forget actually why we're all doing what we do in the first place. And I think, especially with some of my recent work, it's really been a reminder of, how we can all help people in life. And certainly being a lawyer really gives us that privilege of being able to do so. Does that sound a bit cheesy, or?
No, not at all. I think it's important to, take that step back every now and then. Just as well. I have to remind myself sometimes. And I mean, I love you all lawyers, but sometimes I have to take a step back and, think I really am lucky to work for some of the brightest people in the country. But that's what I do, right? And they ask me to help them kind of get their voices out there. I mean, how
Yeah,
trusted am I? I have literally have a sign in my office that says, "This is a privilege.
yeah,
What you
no,
do is a privilege." Isn't it?
you do it so well, but you do it so well, and you help so many people. And
This is not about me, though. So that's all good. It's all good. What's the biggest lesson you've learned over that you'd like to impart to a younger Maria? If you could say in 2005, just a whispering as you were kind of coming through pupillage, what would you say to Maria then?
I think what I would say is life is very short. Life is very precious.
Mm.
We can all get very stressed and very overworked, and again, sometimes we forget what life is about. So I had the a very sad time of losing my mum to stage 4 breast cancer nearly 4 years ago now, when she was only
Mm.
64. So she was diagnosed in the April and she was gone by the August. This isn't to depress everybody, but it's just to say that for me, going through that experience with her was a real
Mm.
life lesson, that it really made me realize, you know what, at the end of the day, you can worry about things, you can get stressed about things, but life is so precious. And just look after each other, be kind to people as much as you can,
Mm.
and just make the most of your life. And so that's what I would tell my younger self. And hopefully that's what I'm teaching my daughter. I've got a 2-year-old, and so I can't emphasize enough how we just all need to slow down and take stock sometimes.
I remember that period. I lost my dad a few years ago, and Oswald Clark, where I was at the time, were just amazing about it. They let me work remotely from his on a regular basis, and we went through this kind of prolonged period where he was kind of on the way out, and we knew that he was.
Yeah.
But they were incredible. A quick thank you to everyone who at Oswald Clark supported me during that period, and I'm not sure I'd still be in the law had it not been for the generosity of spirit of those people, like understanding what it meant as well. But I think you're right, Maria, to say like, yeah, I mean, you've got it. Life is short, right? So you got to enjoy what we're doing, and fight the good fight as well. Why don't we leap straight onto the mindful lawyer then? Because that feels like an opposite thing to go straight after there. Really, tell me what is the mindful lawyer?
Yeah, so a mindful lawyer, it's basically a networking initiative that Charlotte Hill, who's a partner at Pennington's,
Brilliant.
her and I are good friends, and we founded that last year. So December last year we started, and basically we were a bit fed up of just networking over drinks all the time with people, and we were just getting tired. And we said, let's establish a way of networking that enables actually proper connections to be made, but let's do it in a different way that's inclusive. So let's do it at different times of the day. So, for instance, if
Mm,
people have children that they want to put to bed, they don't have to go out in the evening. They can come and do some networking at lunch, or they can come and do something in the morning. So we've had like breakfast networking, we've had sunrise yoga, we've held a spin class, which we've had 30 people come to, and it's just about networking differently. That's our main idea, and it's about bringing together. It's always small groups of people, so 15 to 20 people say, and it tends to be a lot of the same people that come to each event, and it just means you get to foster those actual proper meaningful connections, which you're able to use in your working life. And it's for anybody who works with lawyers, so you'd be able to come along, but it's
Well, I'd love to. I'll,
you
I'll
need to
definitely
come
do
along.
it. When Meg was a youngster, I used to rush home to go and get her from nursery at the end of the
Yeah.
day, and a lot of that networking that other people were doing at the age of 30, I wasn't doing it because I couldn't, because I was a dad, right? So I love what you're doing there. I also think I mean, marketing heart says don't put networking on the fringes of our day. Why does it have to be in the evening all the time as well? And I love the fact that you put it, in the day there as well. So what are the plans for Mindful Lawyer in 2025? What are you thinking?
Still raising the profile. Another key part of a mindful lawyer is
Hmm,
also about well-being and
right.
encouraging legal professionals to look after themselves. So a large part of the events that we do have an angle on that. So next year we have a special workshop in January to overcome imposter syndrome, which
Right.
again in the legal profession is a massive issue for many people.
Mm.
Nobody talks about it, so we're hosting a special workshop to help people overcome that. We've got loads of events planned. We have a special event for International Women's Day, and every month, one session every month. So yeah, it's really exciting, and it's growing. It's growing all the time.
How do people find it, Maria? Has it got a dedicated website or?
It's on LinkedIn. So we have our own company page on LinkedIn called A Mindful
Okay.
Lawyer. We
Yeah.
have about 540 followers at the moment. And yeah, you can just find it on there. We're in the process of doing a website. When I have time, I'll get onto that.
You're a busy woman, which probably takes us on to the work. I'm definitely getting involved, right? I have to do that.
Yeah, you need to
So I'm
come
going to
involved.
come along and do it. I'd love to. The imposter syndrome is huge. I was asked about it the other day on the nudge. Somebody said, "Can you do a special session on this?" And the fact that you're doing it in your group means I'd love to come along to that session alone. Never mind anything else. On Al Fayed, can you tell us a bit about how you've been involved in what's going on at the moment for
Yeah, yeah. So I'm, as you know, part of a legal team who are representing the majority of the survivors of abuse at the hands of Mohamed Al Fayed. And so, yeah, it's been very just I just can't explain, which isn't the best thing, but I struggle to put into words what this experience has been like for me.
um,
It's been so life changing. I feel for me to be able to get involved in such a case and to be able to make a difference to not just one person, but to a large number of people. And that's what I think, it's good work that we're doing on that case. It's been very, very rewarding to do.
Has it taken over your life over the last few months?
It did at the time. So around, I think around September, October time, it was just an intense time. It was an intense time because also it was very public, and the response and the amount of people that were contacting us and wanting to speak to us was really, really overwhelming. And it's, people are traumatized. People, if they've taken a decision to be able to talk about something, you want to try and help them do that. And it's just about trying to manage that situation in the best way that you can.
And I'm assuming well, I'm pretty certain there's been a lot of media interest in the kind of team's role in it as much as anything else. I know it's been in the general media. What's that been like? And have you had previous experience of such a case with so much media exposure?
No, not with the amount of media exposure that there has been in this case. But it's been good because people need to know what happened to the survivors, and the survivors deserve to have their story told, to have their account heard by the public. So the media interest hasn't concerned me at all because it's what the case deserves. It's what these women deserve, to have everybody know what happened to them.
I remember I was involved in Savile a bit, just on the fringes of it in terms of a comms role as well. And I just remembered at times how consuming it could be. This one feels like it's got the possibility of being as career defining, as large an exposure as that. Do you think that's bombastic? Do you think it's fair to say it could be
Yeah.
as big as Savile or bigger still?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, this the scale is unprecedented. The amount of people that have came forward, not only survivors, but also people who've wanted to help in terms of provide, witness statements, provide documents that may be helpful. It's just been, yeah, unprecedented.
When are we expecting trial to happen? Are we expecting things to start kicking off in 25 or 26, or any ideas on that?
No idea, no idea. And so obviously, litigation will have to, plans are afoot. So let's just say watch this space.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks for what you're doing on that matter as well. I mean, it seems like incredibly
Mm.
important work. And I think it turns us back to the purpose that you were talking about at the beginning of your career. That's what's so interesting about it, isn't it, as well? I think opportunities are presented to us in our career sometimes. And although maybe you're a company lawyer for the most part or do a variety of different areas, when something reminds you of your purpose and it comes along, I think you have to grasp that opportunity and go for it, don't you, as well? So,
No, and
yeah.
that's exactly what I've done. Yeah.
Have any other cases taken you outside of London this year? Have you been travelling? Do you regularly get outside of?
So not into the regions. I do quite a bit of work in Dubai, so I go over.
Oh yeah,
I tend to go over 2 or 3 times a year, so that's always enjoyable. So I'll be going out again next year, probably April. So yeah, I do that. In terms of the regions, I mean, I do. My practice does have work in Birmingham, which I go up to frequently, but it's mainly London, if I'm honest, London or Dubai or any other jurisdiction that I'm working in.
I don't know too much about the DIFC from it's years ago since I was really involved in that world. So, is it a really mature market nowadays? Is it something that
Yeah,
you've
totally.
you've enjoyed kind of the progression of that over the last few years?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love doing work in the DIFC, and they've also got this excellent way of dealing with digital asset cases, and so I think there's so much of that work there as well. And it's not just, I find Dubai very exciting. I love going to Dubai, but I also really enjoy going to the DIFC and doing work there. It's just an enjoyable experience, whether it's in person or online. I just enjoy it.
Do you think there are other kind of centres emerging that you'd keep an eye on that you might invest in, I don't know, qualifying in the future, somewhere that you might practice elsewhere? So you've got Dubai and London, obviously UK. Have you got others on the horizon?
Um, I I mean, things just come up, don't they, in your career that, opportunities will present themselves and you just have to grab them when they come. So that I'm sure something will pop up in the future.
Tell me a bit about the kind of LinkedIn side of things and your usage there, because I think we came across each other first probably on there as much as anything else as well. Is it something that you get to use on a regular basis? Do you use it on a
Yeah.
daily basis?
So I don't do it on a daily basis. I try. So I think when I started using LinkedIn, I was really worried about how authentic you can actually be. But I
Mhm.
actually think that the more authentic you are, actually, the better results you have. And I've actually made a lot of work connections just on LinkedIn, that have led to very valuable working relationships. So I think LinkedIn's amazing. You've just got to make it work for you.
Saw a big change, I think, over certainly over this year with people fleeing X and coming increasingly onto LinkedIn. But I think barristers were early adopters, I think, on Twitter back in the day, 2008, 2010, 2012. But I always felt as though the audience was on LinkedIn. If you're going to be instructed by a solicitor and they're all going to be hanging around on LinkedIn, then there seems an opportunity to. And when you talk about those networks, so you're talking about instructing solicitors, I assume, as
Yeah,
much as
yeah, yeah.
anyone else.
Or potentially clients, clients may see a post you've done and then reach out to a solicitor and say, actually, I want her on the case. You just don't know. Um, but also, work doesn't just necessarily always come from the same people. It's just about having a good a good network of people that you can rely on, because people will always say, oh, you should use that person, you should use that person for your legal dispute. And I think LinkedIn provides that opportunity. And there's people I follow on LinkedIn that when I meet them in real life, I'm like, wow, I know exactly what you've been up to. Well done on that case. It's just great.
Isn't it? I think it makes us the first hour I ever get with someone, I think is a much more vibrant conversation
Yeah.
as a result of it. I've walked into a room with Sophie Wardle, John Gregson, and Emma Gill a while ago. And it's the first time I've ever been in the room with those three. And within 5 minutes, we were chatting like old mates because we just know so much about each other from having spent that time with each other online as well. So, have you been invited to any Christmas parties that have started out as LinkedIn relationships?
No, not any Christmas parties as a result of LinkedIn relationships. But um no, unfortunately not. Maybe I need to, up my game and get invited to some Christmas parties. I hear you're going to one later, is that right?
Yeah, again, a similar gang and some influencers there, so that should be fun to kind of catch up with a few. I mean, we tend to take a photo and then break the internet. That's the idea of it anyway. We're not Ellen, but we're close as you can. And then the mindful lawyer. That's quite often through that format as well. You said it's got 540 followers on there. Is there, and that's open to other people to join as a network? Is
Yeah.
it? Is it?
People can just follow us and then they will get updated about upcoming events, and yeah, just get involved. I mean, it surprises me how many people don't get involved in stuff like that. You've got a ready-made opportunity to make work connections that are going to benefit you in your career. I mean, it's great for me as a self-employed barrister. Let's put it that way. I mean, that was, partly one of the reasons why I also wanted to set up the network, to bring people together.
Feels like something that could just catch fire over the course of the next year, though, don't you think as well? It's
Oh,
just it's an idea whose time has come. Do you know what I mean? It's that idea of a mindful kind of network at the right time of day. It just sounds like a dream.
yeah, and I think really if we start getting you involved in coming to an event, you can post about it, and then you
I will
can
happily promote
trend
it
it.
for you. Happily,
It's
if you can kill off my imposter syndrome, then I'm in full stop. Right, that's fine. I'll pro bono. I'll help out. I'd welcome that. In fact, if you put that session up on your LinkedIn, I think you'll probably break the internet this afternoon as well. Right? I mean, that's the one everyone struggles with, isn't it? Like, yeah, am I supposed to be here?
Yeah.
Am I worthy, as it were? Okay. Maybe final question then. So, any advice for anyone who's thinking about getting going, who's a barrister, who's thinking about getting going on LinkedIn rather than any other social media? Any tips for them?
Just do it. Be authentic, but also be mindful about what you post about. I'm very careful about what I post about, and I always try to make sure that it has some relevance to what I'm doing at the moment. So be careful about what you post about, but do it, and try and make it relevant to what you're doing, and also try and think about what it is that you want to achieve.
I think that's very good advice. Listen, thank you so much for your time today and for spending some time with us as well. I know that you've got to whiz off in a minute as well to go and celebrate a hard 1 year, I think, this year. If you've listened to today's episode and you've enjoyed it, then first thing to do is give Maria a follow on LinkedIn. Well worth doing, and clearly go and follow the Mindful Lawyer as well. It sounds like a wonderful group, and if you're going to be there, then I'll probably be there too. If you like the series, then subscribe on YouTube or on Spotify. It'd be great to have you along for the ride. We've had some wonderful guests over the last few months, so thank you to everyone who's done that. And yeah, apart from that, Maria, thank you again for taking part. It's been
Thank
wonderful.
you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.